Olá, amigos e amigas, como vocês estão? Hoje eu trago para vocês um conto de Virginia Woolf, de 1943, chamado The Legacy. É um conto que é recorrentemente lido nas turmas de graduação de língua inglesa aqui no Brasil, então muitos de vocês já devem ter lido ou escutado, mas eu vou trazer aqui na minha versão, vamos ver. Espero que vocês gostem. The Legacy. For Cissy Miller. Gilbert Clandon, taking up the pearl brooch that lay among a litter of rings and brooches on a little table in his wife's drawing-room, read the inscription, For Cissy Miller, with my love. It was like Angela to have remembered even Cissy Miller, the secretary. Yet how strange it was, Gilbert Clandon thought once more, that she had left everything in such order. A little gift of some sort for every one of her friends. It was as if she had foreseen her death. Yet she had been in perfect health when she left the house that morning 6 weeks ago. When she stepped off the curb in Piccadilly and the car had killed her. He was waiting for Cissy Miller. He had asked her to come. He owed her, he felt, after all the years she had been with them, this token of consideration. Yes, he went on, as he sat there waiting. It was strange that Angela had left everything in such order. Every friend had been left some little token of her affection. Even every ring, every necklace, every little Chinese box, she had a passion for little boxes, had a name on it. And each had some memory for him. This he had given her. This, the animal dolphin with the ruby eyes, she had pounced upon one day in a back street in Venice. He could remember her little cry of joy, of delight. To him, of course, she had left nothing in particular, unless it were her diary. 15 little volumes, bound in green leather, stood behind him on her writing table. Ever since they were married, she had kept a diary. Some of their very few, he could not call them quarrels, say tiffs, had been about that diary. When he came in and found her writing, she always shut it or put her hand over it. No, 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 he could hear her say. After I'm dead, perhaps. So she had left it him as her legacy. It was the only thing they had not shared when she was alive. But he had always taken it for granted that she would outlive him. If only she had stopped one moment and had thought what she was doing, she would be alive now. But she had stepped straight off the curb, the driver of the car had said at the inquest. She had given him no chance to pull up. Here the sound of voices in the hall interrupted him. Miss Miller, sir, said the maid. She came in. He had never seen her alone in his life, nor, of course, in tears. She was terribly distressed, and no wonder. Angela had been much more to her than an employer. She had been a friend. To himself, he thought, as he pushed the chair for her and asked her to sit down. She was scarcely distinguishable from any other woman of her kind. There were thousands of Cissy Millers, drab little women in black, carrying attaché cases. But Angela, with her genius for sympathy, had discovered all sorts of qualities in Cissy Miller. She was the soul of discretion, so silent, so trustworthy one could tell her anything, and so on. Miss Miller could not speak at first. She sat there dabbing her eyes with her pocket handkerchief. Then she made an effort. Pardon me, Mr. Clandon, she said. He murmured. Of course he understood. It was only natural. He could guess what his wife had meant to her. I've been so happy here, she said, looking round. Her eyes rested on the writing table behind him. It was here they had worked, she and Angela. For Angela had her share of the duties that fall to the lot of a prominent politician's wife. She had been the greatest help to him in his career. He had often seen her and Cissy sitting at that table, Cissy at the typewriter, taking down letters from her dictation. No doubt Miss Miller was thinking of that too. Now all he had to do was to give her the brooch his wife had left her. A rather incongruous gift, it seemed. It might have been better to have left her a sum of money, or even the typewriter. But there it was, for Sissy Miller with my love. And taking the brooch, he gave it her with a little speech he had prepared. He knew, he said, that she would value it. His wife had often worn it. And she replied, as she took it almost as if she too had prepared a speech, that it would always be a treasured possession. She had, he supposed, other clothes upon which a pearl brooch would not look quite so incongruous. She was wearing the little black coat and skirt that seemed the uniform of her profession. Then he remembered. She was in mourning, of course. She too had had her tragedy. A brother to whom she was devoted had died only a week or two before Angela. In some accident, was it? He could not remember, only Angela telling him. Angela, with her genius for sympathy, had been terribly upset. Meanwhile, Sissy Miller had risen. She was putting on her gloves. Evidently, she felt that she ought not to intrude, but he could not let her go without saying something about her future. What were her plans? Was there any way in which he could help her? She was gazing at the table where she had sat at her typewriter, where the diary lay. And lost in her memories of Angela, she did not at once answer his suggestion that he could help her. She seemed for a moment not to understand. So he repeated, "What are your plans, Miss Miller?" "My plans? Oh, that's all right, Mr. Clarendon," she exclaimed. "Please don't bother yourself about me." He took her to mean that she was in no need of financial assistance. It would be better, he realized, to make any suggestion of that kind in a letter. All he could do now was to say as he pressed her hand, "Remember, Miss Miller, if there's any way in which I can help you, it will be a pleasure." Then he opened the door. For a moment on the threshold, as if a sudden thought had struck her, she stopped. "Mr. Clarendon," she said, looking straight at him for the first time. And for the first time he was struck by the expression, sympathetic yet searching, in her eyes. "If at any time," she continued, "there's anything I can do to help you, remember I shall feel it, for your wife's sake, a pleasure." With that, she was gone. End of part 1.